Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another enormous episode of History of the Marvel Universe with me, your host, the Merry Marvelite. In 1966, after a brief sabbatical, the size-changing scientist Hank Pym returned and rejoined the Avengers. Previously having operated as both Ant-Man and Giant Man, Pym donned a new costume and a new name, Goliath. Even though growing put a strain on his body, Pym, as Goliath, joined the Avengers on a mission to rescue his partner, Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, from the villainous Collector. While the mission was successful, Pym had remained in his enlarged state for too long, and upon attempting to shrink back to normal, Goliath blacked out. Upon regaining consciousness, Pym discovered that his height had become fixed at 10 feet, and that further attempts to change size would no doubt be fatal. Looking for a way to safely return to normal, Pym contacted Tony Stark for help. Stark sent a brilliant biochemist in his employ to aid in Pym's research. This was Dr. William Barrett Foster. Foster and Pym got to work looking for a way to restore Hank's power and return him to normal. Unfortunately, while this was happening, a racist group of domestic terrorists, calling themselves the Sons of the Serpent, were attacking minority individuals on the streets. Bill Foster was African American, and so one evening after stepping out of Pym's cottage home, Bill was attacked by the Sons of the Serpent. Thankfully, Foster survived the assault, and Pym put their experiments on hold to assemble the Avengers and strike back against the villains. However, Goliath's plan involved agreeing to speak at the Serpent's rally, and so Bill Foster chose to distance himself from the hero. Of course, when the time came to address the crowd, Pym spoke out and denounced the Serpent's hatred and bigotry, and in the end the Avengers defeated the Sons of the Serpent. Not long after that adventure, a new villain calling himself the Living Laser used his deadly beams to cut into a bank vault, and the Avengers were called in to investigate. At the bank, Janet Van Dyne encountered an old friend of hers, Lucy Burton, who happened to be engaged to the bank owner's son. In the crowd outside, Lucy Burton's angry and heartbroken ex-boyfriend, Arthur Parks, peered in, immediately becoming enamored with the Wasp. Returning home, Arthur Parks donned his high-tech costume and once again became the Living Laser. Traveling to Avengers headquarters, Parks followed Goliath and Wasp back to their cottage home. Upon entering, Hank and Janet found that Bill Foster had returned. Apologizing for not trusting his friend more, Bill was ready to get back to work. Janet left to allow the two men to work, and the Living Laser attacked, intending to eliminate his competition. Although Goliath was able to defeat his foe, the laser's powerful beams and unexpected ability to fly allowed him to escape Avengers' custody. Pym and Foster went back to work while Captain America, Hawkeye, and the Wasp tracked down the Living Laser, only for the three of them to be captured. Goliath arrived on the scene, and while he was able to free Cap and Hawkeye, Parks escaped with Janet. Hank, of course, went after him, and while he was briefly captured, his newly restored shrinking powers allowed him to escape and free the Wasp. Together again, Ant-Man and the Wasp defeated the Living Laser, and though they had accomplished their goal, Pym and Foster decided to continue working together. Fast forward to the 1970s and the pages of Luke Cage, Power Man. Cage was romantically involved with a woman named Claire Temple. One day Claire received a letter, and shortly after she left New York, leaving a message for Luke telling him not to follow her. However, once she reached Los Angeles, Claire sent Luke a postcard, which of course was marked with a return address. Luke took this as a sign and boarded a bus to go after her. The address led Luke to a hotel where the clerk informed him that Claire had been spending a lot of time at a local fairground. Cage traveled there to investigate, and while he was there, he saved the life of one of a pair of trapeze artists when a sudden wind disrupted their routine. And astute Marvelites may recognize these two as the Great Gambonos, members of the Circus of Crime that first appeared in early issues of The Amazing Spider-Man. After that excitement, Luke and Claire were reunited, and Claire revealed that the letter she received had come from her ex-husband, Bill Foster. She explained that their whole relationship had occurred while Claire and Bill went to college together, the marriage, the fights, and finally the subsequent divorce. While Claire Temple got her degree and eventually started a free clinic, Bill started working for Stark Industries, and of course we know where he ended up. Bill helped Hank Pym, the original Goliath, restore his size-changing powers, but what we didn't know was that Foster continued to experiment with Pym's formulae, inadvertently trapping himself at a height of 15 feet. Bill was confident that he could reverse his condition, just as he had done for Henry Pym, but he was too proud to ask Pym or Stark for help, and so he began working at the Circus to raise money and continue his research. This plot point is dumb, but it gets retconned real quick, so just stick with me for a minute. When Claire learned of Bill's condition, she wanted to see him again, but she didn't want to involve Luke due to Luke's status as an escaped convict and Bill's connection to the Avengers. Bill soon arrived on the scene as the new Goliath and saw Luke Cage with his hands on his former love. In traditional superhero fashion, this misunderstanding led to a scuffle, but their combat was interrupted by the arrival of the Ringmaster and his circus of crime. The Ringmaster seized control of both Power Man and Goliath with his hypnotic power, and Princess Python zapped Claire with her electro prod. Claire was brought to Princess Python's wagon, where she slowly regained consciousness, knocking out and impersonating her captor long enough to knock Luke back to his senses. Luke Cage fought back against the Circus of Crime until the Ringmaster set the hypnotized Goliath against him. Luckily, Luigi Gambono, who Luke had saved earlier, repaid his life debt by swiping the Ringmaster's hypnotic hat and freeing Goliath from his control. Of course, Cage teamed up with Goliath to defeat the Circus of Crime before leaving with Claire. Random side note, while issue 24 of Power Man correctly identifies Bill Foster, the following issue mistakenly refers to him as Bill Temple in the caption boxes. Anyway, Bill next appeared in his own series the following year. At his regular height of 6 feet, Bill wandered the streets of Los Angeles where he grew up, reminiscing about his past, until he was attacked by a trio of would-be muggers. Bill grew to giant size and easily dispatched his attackers, leaving them for the police before returning to his apartment. Here Bill expressed concern about leading a dual life as a superhero, even after he was called by the recently hospitalized Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. Bill explained that he was in charge of Tony Stark's LA lab, and with the recent attacks on other local laboratories, he was likely to be needed there. Naturally, since Bill is a highly trained biochemist in the employ of Tony Stark, this is where we learn that his story about joining the circus to raise money was a lie that he told in order to see Claire again. Not only that, but Bill was never trapped at giant size. After all, while Hank Pym developed the size-changing serums, Bill Foster was the one who perfected them and removed all of the negative side effects. Unable to make a decision about leading a dual life as a superhero, Foster returned to the R&D lab where we meet his team, Herbert Bell, Dale West, and Talia Kruma, a trio affectionately referred to as the Whiz Kids. The following morning, after reading of another attacked laboratory, Bill was convinced that his facility's radium would be next. Sure enough, that evening the warehouse containing the radium was attacked by a gang led by a powerful new supervillain calling himself Atom Smasher. However, when they broke in, they found Black Goliath waiting for them. Goliath fought the crooks, but during the battle he took a blast wave from Atom Smasher. He blocked another radioactive blast, accidentally striking a crate of volatile chemicals. The warehouse caught fire, causing an explosion. Atom Smasher ran off without the radium, and Black Goliath barely escaped with his life. Fortunately, he was found and nursed back to health by a woman named Celia Jackson, and the two grew close quickly. After fully recovering, Bill returned to his lab. Here, he found a sealed crate with explicit instructions not to be opened without the express authorization of Tony Stark. That'll come up later, but for now, Bill had the Whiz Kids whip up a device which he could use to detect Atom Smasher's energy and track down the villain. This time, Goliath was prepared, and so he defeated Atom Smasher and his men, but the villain's employer didn't want him talking, and so Atom Smasher was killed by a sniper before he could be brought to the police. Bill tried to go after the assassin, but even though his powers should have been safe to use, he involuntarily shrank down, writhing in pain. The sickness lasted until the following day when the Stark West lab was attacked by a gang of masked criminals who stole the sealed box that Stark had stored there. Black Goliath intercepted them during their escape and battled their superpowered leader, Vulcan. Goliath was able to grab the box, but Vulcan blasted him back into a building which collapsed on top of him. While the Black Goliath was able to dig himself free, Vulcan escaped and the box remained buried. It seems, however, that Bill assumed that Vulcan had escaped with the box, as when Tony Stark contacted him, he reported that the box was in fact stolen. Stark attempted to explain the nature of the box, claiming it was related to the death of a scientist named Al Harper. We'll come back to that in a bit. But the transmission was cut off by a government agent named Ballard who didn't trust Foster. On another side note, this is Ballard's first appearance, but he would later appear as the villainous Centurion in the pages of Miss Marvel. Anyway, it seems that Bill wasn't wrong about the box being stolen, as it was seemingly discovered by a man named Jerry Washington who planned to sell its contents. Jerry's girlfriend Reggie Claiborne didn't like the idea, but when Jerry became physically abusive towards her, Reggie left. This all didn't work out for Jerry, for when he finally got the box open, the glow from whatever was inside enveloped and vaporized him. Meanwhile, as Goliath was talking to the LAPD, a boy named Keith rushed into the station. A nearby bank was under attack by the notorious armored supervillain Stilt-Man, and Keith's aunt, Celia Jackson, who previously nursed Goliath back to health, had sent her nephew to find the size-changing hero. Goliath rushed to the scene of the crime with the police, where he battled Stilt-Man. However, his armored foe had a new weapon, a Z-Ray, which he used to banish Goliath, along with Celia and Keith, to another dimension. Fortunately, the first alien they met was a friendly one named Dareth. Dareth led the lost humans to a building where they could construct a way home. While the alien was putting the finishing touches on the dimensional transporter, Goliath and Celia snuck off for some alone time. While they embraced, the building's robotic guardian approached and attacked, but Dareth pushed the two humans out of the way, sacrificing himself to save them. Goliath battled the robot, defeating it and avenging Dareth before the three lost humans returned to Earth. This was the end of Black Goliath's self-titled series, but the dangling plot threads left behind were picked up in other books. In Marvel 2-in-1 number 24, we see Bill Foster and the Whiz Kids still working at Tony Stark's West Coast lab. This is where Bill first met Ben Grimm, aka The Thing of the world-famous Fantastic Four, and the two teamed up to battle one of Hank Pym's old enemies, the Hijacker. The mystery of the box would be answered when Bill Foster joined forces with the Champions, a super team then consisting of Ghost Rider, Black Widow, Hercules, Darkstar, and former X-Men Iceman and Angel. Apparently, at some point, Reggie Claiborne returned to Jerry Washington's apartment to find Jerry missing and the box glowing. Not knowing what to do, Reggie brought the box to the Champions' Los Angeles headquarters, but on the way there she was pursued by the Stilt-Man. The Champions battled Stilt-Man, destroying his Z-Ray and forcing him to flee. Black Goliath gave chase on his own, defeating Stilt-Man mostly off-panel, while the Champions dealt with the box, which apparently contained the Stranger's Null Life Bomb. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of explaining, so strap yourself in. The Stranger is a cosmic entity who visited Earth several times in the past. In Silver Surfer number 5 in 1969, the Stranger decided that humans weren't worthy of existing and brought to Earth a Null Life Bomb capable of wiping out all human life on the planet. While the Silver Surfer confronted the Stranger, a human scientist named Al Harper tracked down and disarmed the Null Life Bomb at the cost of his own life. After witnessing such selflessness, the Stranger decided to give human life a chance and left Earth once again. Evidently, the Null Life Bomb somehow came into the possession of Tony Stark, who sealed it up, but due to the tampering with the containment unit, the bomb had become armed once again. And so the Stranger returned to Earth intending to disarm the bomb. While the Champions distrusted him and initially attacked, when the bomb began its expansion, they had no choice but to listen. Apparently, the Null Life Bomb was not an explosive at all, but instead was designed to become intangible and expand to encompass the entire solar system before solidifying and contracting again. The Stranger sent the champions on a quest to retrieve the one thing that could stop the bomb, the rune staff of Kamo Tharn. Not realizing that Hercules and Sif had already brought the staff to Earth in Thor number 235, and it was currently sitting in Thor's broom closet. With the Stranger's help, Darkstar grabbed the rune staff and used it to disarm the Null Life Bomb, disabling its ability to solidify and causing it to harmlessly expand infinitely. We later see Bill Foster in Marvel 2-in-1 number 54 after he joined up with Project Pegasus, a government program designed to research unorthodox energy sources. The project examined various energy-producing supervillains, and so Bill was brought in to study the corpse of Atom Smasher. When an enemy agent released a radioactive supervillain called Nucleo from his containment cell, Bill was forced to reveal his secret identity, and his new costume, to Ben Grimm. At Ben's suggestion, Bill took Pym's old codename Giant Man, although eventually he did start calling himself Goliath again. Giant Man battled Nucleo, seemingly unconcerned with his radioactivity, and he and the Thing were able to defeat and contain him. A few issues later, we learn why Bill wasn't afraid of Nucleo. He'd been slowly dying of radiation poisoning since his battle with Atom Smasher, finally explaining his sickness after that encounter. Bill continued to work at Project Pegasus while searching for a cure, albeit unsuccessfully. He also continued his friendship with Ben Grimm, occasionally helping to fight against supervillains while getting less careful about maintaining his secret identity. It wasn't long before the staff at Project Pegasus were all familiar with his dual identity. Meanwhile, at one point the Thing was captured by Advanced Idea Mechanics, the terrorist group of super scientists, and used as a test subject for their radioactive bioweapon known as Virus X. While Grimm escaped, with some help from Namor the Submariner, he was already infected with the virus. Due to his recent work on radiation poisoning, Bill Foster was brought in to help. While Bill was unable to cure the Thing on his own, he accompanied him, along with Captain America, to raid AIM's command center in search of an antivirus. When Giant Man fought his way into the research labs, he deduced that the cure for Ben's condition might also be the cure for his. However, there was only one dose of the antidote, which Bill, of course, administered to Ben. Immediately after, Bill's condition worsened. He collapsed and was brought back to the Baxter Building, the headquarters of the Fantastic Four. Experts like Walter Langowski, aka the Canadian superhero and member of Alpha Flight Sasquatch, were consulted, but Foster's situation seemed hopeless. With no recourse left, Bill decided to return to his Stark West lab in Los Angeles and reunite with the Whiz Kids, where he also found Celia Jackson there waiting for him. Ben Grimm accompanied him to LA, but he wandered off to allow Bill time to reconnect with his friends. As he did, he encountered a costumed gang infiltrating another part of the lab. The gang was led by Atom Smasher, seemingly back from the dead. Atom Smasher blasted the Thing away and escaped, but the commotion drew the attention of Bill Foster and his friends, who came to investigate. Soon after, Spider-Woman, who had tracked Atom Smasher from San Francisco, also arrived on the scene. Bill confirmed that the previous Atom Smasher's corpse was brought to Project Pegasus, and so this new Atom Smasher couldn't be the same man. However, if he possessed the same powers, Bill could track him down based on his unique radiation, and maybe even decipher a cure for himself. Meanwhile, Atom Smasher completed his ultimate weapon, the Neutralode, a machine capable of flooding an entire city with his own deadly atomic energy, killing its entire population in seconds, leaving him and his men free to steal whatever they wanted. Fortunately, Bill was able to lead the Thing and Spider-Woman to Atom Smasher's lair. The Thing was able to hold off Atom Smasher's Robotron mechs, while Spider-Woman's immunity to poisons and toxins rendered the radioactive villain's powers non-fatal against her. However, when Atom Smasher blasted her and made a break for his machine, Bill Foster forced himself to become Giant Man one more time and stop him. During the resulting fight, the new Atom Smasher revealed that he was the brother of the original Atom Smasher. Together, they developed the process which gave them their atomic powers, and when his brother failed, he ordered his death. Atom Smasher was able to get away from Giant Man and attempted to activate the Neutralode. However, the deadly machine was damaged during the battle and exploded upon activation, killing the second Atom Smasher. Bill Foster collapsed, but fortunately, it was discovered that the antibodies produced by Spider-Woman's bloodstream in reaction to Atom Smasher's radiation could be used to save Foster's life, although at the cost of her immunity factor. Somewhat reluctantly, Spider-Woman agreed to undergo the transfusion, finally curing Bill Foster of his life-threatening radiation poisoning. Of course, this would not be the last we saw of Bill Foster, as he later continued his career as Giant Man. And that's the story of Bill Foster. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe, comment, like, share, all that good stuff. As always, the issues referenced in this video are listed in the description below if you would like to read them for yourself, along with links to my Twitter, Patreon, Instagram, all kinds of good stuff. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior!